Welcome to Urban Legend Crypto. This is Pedro Rachet and co-host Mr. Bret Jennings. We're here to talk about crypto. So, Bret, what you got, baby? You got the glasses on
What
today.
it be, Pedro?
Terminator time.
I am, you know what? When it comes to Bitcoin, it's terminating every single person's prediction. So I felt it only suited the day to dress up as the Terminator. And Bitcoin 2 years ago was on the decline. And now here we are 2 years later. And just like the Terminator, Bitcoin said, I'll be back. For the record, I believe that was like just last week, not 2 weeks ago, when it was sitting around 51,000. Pedro said, I think it's going to drop 20%. I said, well, it's already dropped 20% when it went down to 30,000. So I think we're through that. But I will admit that I would have never predicted that Bitcoin was going to jump from 51,000 to 64,000 in a matter of a few days. I mean, what was it on Tuesday or Wednesday? I remember at like 4:30 in the morning looking at my chart, and I saw it go within like a 15 or 20, 25-minute period. I saw it jump up like $4,000. And I mean, even for Bitcoin, you know, I've seen it fluctuate, drop very quickly and go up very quickly. But that was kind of, and even crazier was later that day, after it went up to $64,000, there was another 15-minute window where it went from 64,000 down to 58,000. But it went right back up, which means that the drop was immediately bought up. So I think we're going to settle, we're going to go down here a little bit, maybe 5%, 6%, something around there. But I think we're just going to keep on going. And at the end of the day, it comes down to this, which is every cycle is different. And I will say that, and even with this cycle, I know we're coming right before the halving, but we've never had the kind of money with the influx and the inflows of crypto like we have right now. Never in our life. I mean, we haven't had hedge fund money. We haven't had real money in the market before. And now that we have, who knows? But I see nothing but up from here. Let's bring up the chart of the case for the bull case and the case for the bear case. Because I agree with you. People are going to sell just because people take profit. And to me, the best trading advice is this: you can't go broke if you take profits. So I understand taking a little bit off the table. It's just a matter of how much and what's the state of the buyers wanting to pick up that dip. Most people who got Bitcoin when it was really, really, really cheap sold. Now, there might be a few holders. There might be a few people holding on to it still. But I think the majority of people who buy Bitcoin make an extreme amount of profit and then sell. There's going to be a certain percentage of that even now. But I think the majority of percent of people who would have done that and have already done that, because even if Bitcoin goes from 15,000 up to 65,000, even if it goes up to 500,000, that's not the percentage gained. Even 15,000 to 500,000 is not a percentage gained between, say, $25 and selling at $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever it is. All so right. I think that's pretty much out of the system for it. Now it's just a matter of what's the volume of people that are going to be taking profit and how much.
Okay. Look at December 2nd, 2023. This is the 3-month chart. We were at 38,000. So that means if you would have bought it at 15,000, you darn now have 2 more Bitcoin that you could, if you sell now, hold the money. You have 3 for one, 3 for, all right? Now, I'm not saying that it's going to go back to 15. I don't know. It could. Who knows? I'm saying that Bitcoin is the future, and you have a lot of volatility going on, and they will continue to go on, and you're going to have more bad news coming and more good news coming. So if you're a trader, then trade. Me, I'm not so much of a trader. I just kind of buy, hold, then sell when I get a hair. Anyway, we're going to talk about now. Let's get to it.
Oh, well, here's another something to talk about quick, too. So have you seen in the news that Elon Musk is suing OpenAI, Sam Altman?
No, I didn't see that one.
So back in 2000, I believe, 15, when OpenAI first was founded and started, Elon Musk was one of the very first investors. And he was probably the biggest investor in OpenAI when it was first formed in 2015. Now he filed a lawsuit that basically says that Sam Altman and OpenAI aren't using OpenAI as they said they were going to. Whereas Elon is basically making the case that when he first gave the money to invest in OpenAI, he believed it was under the pretense that OpenAI was going to be something for the general public and for the goodwill of mankind. And now he's claiming that he feels that OpenAI doesn't really care about serving the purpose of the consumer, and they're more concerned about having a business model and taking the business route and making as much money out of it as they can. And so he's saying that from what I invested my money in, you've taken a completely different route and so sold me a bag of goods of what I originally felt I was invested in. But to me, I don't think anyone really cares, Pedro. I think it's just one billionaire crying over another billionaire, and the world doesn't give a shit.
Well, let's see. Here's AP article. Let's just real quickly run through it. It says, AP, Associated Press, says, Elon Musk sues OpenAI and CEO Sam Altman, claiming betrayal of its goal to benefit humanity. Okay, so Elon is suing OpenAI and its CEO over the betrayal, yada, yada, yada. In the lawsuit filed at San Francisco Superior Court, billionaire Musk said that when the bank rolled OpenAI creation, he secured an agreement with Altman and Craig Brockman, the president, to keep AI company as a nonprofit that would develop technology over the benefit of the public. Yeah, okay. Under its founding agreement, OpenAI would also make its code to open the public instead of walling it off for any private company and gains, the lawsuit says. However, by embracing close relationships with Microsoft, OpenAI, its top executives have set the pack aflame and are preventing the company's mission. Musk alleges in the lawsuit OpenAI declined to comment. All right, so that's that. So what's my 2 cents? To Satoshi.
You know, isn't it funny that of all people, Elon Musk is claiming someone's being unfair? I'm just saying.
Well, here's the thing. I got nothing against Elon Musk, but I see him as the Howard Hughes of our generation.
So do I.
You know why? Because Howard Hughes brought in a whole bunch of different technology, okay, and he was seen as that generation's Iron Man. Elon Musk is seen as our generation Iron Man, all right? Tesla before him was seen as the Iron Man. So what's my point? Well, Elon helped to seed fund and sat on the board, etc. Had several conversations with Altman saying, hey, we got to be careful. We got to watch this. We got to make sure it's going to stay public and all that. Okay. So far, so good. But then all of a sudden, what was it? About 8 months ago, we had a situation where there was a takeover bid. They kicked Altman out, right? And the board went totally against basically everyone's principles. And it looked to me like sold out to Microsoft. So I see where Elon would be like, you know what? If something doesn't happen, I'm going to sue. And I think he was preparing it even back then because he didn't want Microsoft to take over the way it's being alleged here. But then after that all played out, and in my opinion, that whole thing, Bret, was a total psyop. That's all that was. It made a show and a spectacle, but at the end of the day, if I'm to believe that Musk, Altman, and boys are not all trying to manipulate this technology for the few, man, I got some beachfront property in Arizona for you, brother, to sell you today. Okay, because this is just a dog and pony show trying to push Elon, Musk away from the AI. But yet, at the end of the day, we're going to see that he's going to use the AI in his androids. He's going to use it in his cars. He's going to use it in his rockets and whatever else he can possibly bring forth. Because, as I said, he's the Iron Man. So they're going to see and bring about all this this technology that they've had under wraps for a millennia or maybe even longer.
That's my point, man, which is Elon is just, he's getting his panties in a bunch because he wasn't the leader of this. He prides himself on any kind of technology being the absolute leader in. And as I said before, people don't realize that Tesla's not a car company. Tesla's a data company. They have so much data recorded from people driving their cars through the past couple of years that you can have GMC or Ford or some other car company that wants to come out with electrical vehicles. But to be honest with you, they don't stand a chance because Tesla is a data company. They own so much data, it's unbelievable. And data is the new gold. So to me, Elon isn't in the forefront of this, and he has his panties in a bunch because someone else got a jump start on him, and he's not, his name isn't associated with it.
Oh, it's definitely associated with it.
Well, but do you think of Elon Musk when you think of OpenAI and ChatGPT and Sam Altman? Do most people associate Elon Musk with that? No.
I do.
Well, I don't. Let's put it this way. Is Elon Musk known for ChatGPT like he is for Tesla or for SpaceX or Starlink? You see what I'm saying? He's not getting credit for it, I guess. Or that much credit for it. He's not the leader associated with that industry. And, it's just funny because somebody basically decides 6 or 7 years later that they're going to take a different business turn or business approach. So they're evolving and changing their business as the environments change. That's smart business. But he has a problem with it because his name isn't associated with being the absolute leader in it. Just another billionaire, complain about another billionaire. No big deal, just another day in the life.
Okay.
So,
thousands walked out of Ford's biggest plant as auto workers' strike expands. Okay, so thousands of workers are absolutely pissed because of what's going on with the electric vehicle. Okay. 8,700 union workers are upset, and they're saying that they're criticizing Ford because they're grossly responsible for the escalation, unsurprisingly, given the union strategy, et cetera, et cetera. So what's going on? Do you know anything about this?
No.
Yeah. So basically, a lot of these, what is it, EU? Electrical vehicles, EV. Yeah, a lot of these EV vehicles are just not selling. Ford has, I don't know, thousands of trucks that were built that are just sitting on lots, and the consumer doesn't want to buy them. So I just thought I'd throw that in there with your Elon Musk and the.
Why would people buy them? You need to recharge them every, 150 miles? Even if you have to recharge it every 250 miles, which you do most cars. There's not enough electrical refilling stations throughout the entire, I can't go from, say, San Francisco to New York and be able to hit enough along the way. Or if I did, I would probably have to very much inconvenience myself to be able to just charge my car enough in enough places to get across the country. So I can just power up my car with my gas, go anywhere I want, stop by a gas station every 10 miles throughout the entire country for the most part, and go where I need to go. That's complete freedom. When I need to go somewhere or want to go somewhere, and I have to stop every 150 miles, and then I have to go out of my way to find some station to plug in my vehicle, that's going to take another 20 or 15, 20 minutes to charge. And then that's not to mention, what about when it's 20 below zero in Chicago? I'm from the Midwest. It gets really cold there, like 20, 30, 40 below zero for a week at a time, cold. And no electrical vehicle is going to be working during that time. So you have work trucks and electrical vehicles? Man, it's farm country. how are you going to farm when you can't get your equipment to run? I mean, so I'm not saying it's not a good thought, and I'm not saying there's not a lot of progress with them, and I'm not saying maybe they don't have certain use cases, like in San Francisco, if you want to have them used for taxis or deliveries or something like that, whatever. I'm not saying that they maybe don't have some good use cases, but overall, I don't see where it fits into the average American and being useful to them, let alone how expensive they are to buy.
Well, the main thing is they're saying that the batteries are just too hard to produce in large scale. And the F-150 is being suspended right now. That's EV. So there's a lot to be said about what's coming and the agenda that they're trying to, for example, in California, they're saying that they're wanting to ban all gas vehicles up to 2030. And they are trying to pass a law right now that if you have a car that is what's the word? What is the car that is the way it's currently? That's combustion. If you have a combustion car that's 15 years or older, then you can't repair it. So, like for example, let's say I have a classic '67 Camaro with hideaway headlights and all that. Nope, you can't use that on the road anymore. You can't fix it. You can't do anything.
That'll help people who really have enough money to survive.
Well,
have to go out and get a new vehicle.
They don't want people driving.
I know.
That's what it is. They want you to stay in your little cities.
Yep.
They want you to walk. They don't want you to do anything. They want no liberty.
Mission accomplished then.
Yeah.
With
that law, it's over.
Well, you know what this sounds like, which is the other thing we want to talk about, which was some of the real causes of the prohibition.
Yeah.
Right? So this goes in line with that, which a lot of people don't realize that one of the main reasons for the prohibition was that cars, before the prohibition, a lot of cars were run on alcohol, ethanol, correct?
Yeah.
So there wasn't a majority, but there was a good amount of cars that were run on ethanol, on alcohol, leading up to the prohibition. That was one of the major factors in bringing about the prohibition and outlawing alcohol. So yes, they wanted to outlaw alcohol because of the social aspects of it, but one of the other main reasons that is not really talked about is because people were fueling their cars with alcohol. And the car companies didn't really want that. In fact, the first Ford Model T, launched in 1908, was designed to run on a blend of gasoline and alcohol. So there were bigger factors into play because with the prohibition, you're essentially killing two birds with one stone.
Right. Well, you know what? That kind of makes sense to me. You've got J.P. Morgan shutting down Tesla and electrical vehicles over 100 years ago. And you have the strong arming of all the oil companies to consolidate them into, who was it, the Rockefeller Standard Oil. And then all of a sudden in 1920 through 1933, you've got the banning of alcohol for prohibition. And the truth be told behind that is that it wasn't the car companies that wanted the prohibition. It was actually the oil companies and Rockefeller who wanted the control of making of gasoline. And so ethanol is a very good fuel source and very cheap fuel source for automobiles. But I will tell you this, why would they want to do that? Let's start with that. And the answer is simple. They put a meter on it. They control it. So then every person on earth has to give them a cut. So imagine a better business than energy. There really isn't. So every time you turn on a light, every time you ride your vehicle, it's just a couple bucks for you. But put together worldwide, it's $1 trillion industry, man.
Example of that, tell people about oil and how it's completely throughout the entire earth.
Yeah, oil isn't a dinosaur-based baloney lie that they're telling you.
But for years they told us that it was limited.
Yeah.
That's not true?
No. The earth produces oil for its own reasons. I'm sure we'll figure that out one day, why it's producing. But then why do we need to know why it produces gold or silver, right? At the end of the day, it's not a finite, it's an infinite resource that replenishes itself. Look, I'll give you an example. If you don't have to believe me, just go on Google or whatever search engine you want, Safari, whatever, and then put on there oil, renewable, and then put on old Texas wells, right? A lot of these guys went out and bought these old wells that were supposedly tapped out. Then all of a sudden, they went back in. They wanted to see if they could start a small business, pulling whatever little is left. And all of a sudden, they found these huge reserves underneath. It came back, right? So that is a big lie that was told for one reason and only one reason. You know what it was? Price. Because if it's a finite resource, you can charge a premium for it, right? And then how do you keep the price up? You go and convince through lobbyists, and you talk to them and you say, hey, why don't we pay you 10 cents, a gallon, and let us keep our price? And they're like, well, okay, what do we do with that? Well, we're just going to charge the 10 cents. It's for building roads. Then all of a sudden in California, it's gone up to $1 for whatever reason they have. So everything is taxed up into oblivion right now because of their big lie saying that oil is a finite resource, and it's not. And what is good old Biden doing for us right now by shutting down the taps all over the place? The first thing he did, what was his first act? Do you remember?
Shutting down the oil reserves.
You remember where?
Pipeline. Was it Wyoming?
No. That's
North
fracking.
Dakota.
No. Biden.
Tell me.
Hold on. Oil.
I want to say this too quickly, which is, and then the oil company says to the senator, by the way, you might want to buy our stock. And then you have Elizabeth Warren, who also has $150 million of value.
Here it is.
Where was it? Keystone. Yes, that was it.
Yeah.
Where's Keystone Pipeline at?
Yeah.
It goes throughout the country through Canada, right?
Yeah. So the Keystone Pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline, that was the first thing Biden did. Okay. And ask yourself a question. Why would he do that?
What has gas prices gone from since then?
Exactly. But the reason he's doing these things is because he wants the price to stay up so that these Arab nations will continue to bring their money to the U.S. banks to support our dollar. They don't want...
That's a good point.
Yep. They don't want the oil to get cheap because then people will stop buying oil. Okay.
And the reason why that matters is so people out there understand the United States in 1971 went off the gold standard. And so how do we ensure that the American dollar stays the most valuable dollar or the most valuable currency in the world after you go off the gold standard? It's simple. You get together with the Middle East, with all the countries that are producing the oil, and you say, hey, when anybody in the world buys oil, they have to buy it in American dollars. Guess what? Oil is the blood of the entire world that makes it run. It's the bloodline of the entire world. Every single country needs oil to run. So now, every single country, you take a utility that every single country in the world absolutely needs to run, and they have to buy that utility in American dollars. That's how you keep the American dollar up. But in order to do that, which is like what Pedro said, you need to keep the price of oil up. Because if the price of oil tanks, so would the American dollar sooner than later. It's all part of the prop. It's all part of the game.
Yeah. Well, Canada lost like $8 billion, all right, over that fiasco. They were pissed, all right, but we have lost more. I think I should thank Biden because of what he did. I mean, don't you?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, he
Thanks for ruining the country. Appreciate it.
He saved the dollar, bro. Yeah, if it wasn't for Biden,
Short term.
yeah, we would have, we would have gone to oblivion. You know what I would have done if I was the rest of the world? I would have got together a bunch of nations, and I would have, got them all together and X'd out the dollar. I would have said maybe like, let's get Russia, Brazil, China, and all these other countries that are based on
You know
gold.
what? If we came up with an acronym
What could
for
we
all those
call it?
countries, what would be a really cool acronym?
It'd have to start with a B because that's the first one in the alphabet.
BRICS with a K? No.
BRICS. I think you got it.
BRICS.
BRICS. What is it?
BRICS.
Brazil, Russia,
India,
India, BRICS,
China,
China, C.
and now South Africa.
You know what? I think we came up with something on this show. So we want to thank
And
you.
if you
Biden.
then if these countries just did their own trading within their own currency and didn't use the US dollar, and considering that, China and Russia and India are pretty big countries, I wonder if after a certain number of time that might have some kind of impact.
I don't think so because our food has really been stable.
We've got very good food.
Yeah, think about it. I don't know about you, but I'm very grateful that Did you go to Costco recently? I mean,
Yep.
I used to go there, and my bill is almost 3 times what it was before Biden.
We have some of the most valuable food in the world. I mean,
Yes.
that right there is why we're going to stay number one with our currency.
Very nutritious.
It's pretty simple.
So Biden, we as
Thank you.
two guys, we just want to thank you for
Thank you,
keeping
sir.
our dollar.
Thank you, Biden.
Of course, you may have a problem just understanding this podcast, but we won't go there.
Go Brandon. Keep Joe back. That's why I say go Brandon. That was my way of being able to say that on a podcast, Pedro.
Okay, you guys can look that up. Here's the point. Look, if you don't think that boy's sold out, I don't know what to tell you, man. Just the fact that he's messed with our own independence, our own sovereignty, if you would. Before we were doing fracking, we had a pipeline going. Our gas was lowest. We were seriously on the precipice of a major event, which we would have been independent from oil from the Rockefeller time. All right, and now, man, we're right back where we were. What president was that? Was that Obama? Obama, maybe? We were right back when he was in. Oh wait, he was the vice president, wasn't he?
Biden was. And now,
I wonder who's running the show right now. Obama. But anyway, all right. So we got more to talk about here. Enough with us being sarcastic.
Okay. So the main argument for why I think Bitcoin is bullish right now and will continue to be is there's strong support for Bitcoin due to the ETF inflows, the upcoming halving, and the potential Federal Reserve rate cuts. Now, for Bitcoin's future, I think the significant increase in Bitcoin price is reaching about $200,000 by the end of 2025 due to various factors boosting its value. And as far as the market dynamics, why do I think this? Because I think the ETF inflows and the halving event are expected to significantly drive up Bitcoin's price. Also, Federal Reserve rate cuts would further support the rise. Economic factors for this to be involved would be views the Federal Reserve's potential rate cuts as beneficial for Bitcoin, reinforcing its position as an alternative to traditional financial systems.
Can you elaborate on that real quick?
So, the economy is looking good. We are coming into a halving. So, people understand what halving is it comes out to about every 4 years, right? So, it's every certain number of blocks that are created in the Bitcoin network, which equates to about every 4 years. The reward that you get for facilitating the Bitcoin network and solving a Bitcoin block, the reward you get from that is going to be half of what it was before. So every 4 years, I believe this is the third one? This will be the third halving. So 15 years ago, when Bitcoin first started, the reward that you got for creating and solving Bitcoin and what would it be, I guess, facilitating the network, right? So 15 years ago when Bitcoin first started, when you helped facilitate the network and participate in the network, the reward that you got from that was literally 4 times easier to get than it is now. You got rewarded 4 times more. As more Bitcoin blocks get mined, every 4 years, the reward that you get for participating in that network and solving that problem and creating that new Bitcoin gets cut in half. What that does is, what's it do? It basically ensures.
I was looking up Bitcoin halving for you. There's been 3. November.
3.
Yeah, 2012, July 2016, May 2020. This will be the 4th.
The 4th. So the reward that you get for, why do they have that into effect? Because it makes it more scarce?
Yeah, so what happens is every time they do the halving, what happens is the halving reduces the miner's ability to get more hash. Okay, so their hash rate goes down, so that it makes it more difficult.
I need to resign myself. I need to resay my thing.
Yeah.
About the halving. Let me bring it up.
Yeah. So Bitcoin's block rewards halves every 210,000 blocks, approximately every 4 years. This orderly reduction of Bitcoin inflation rate is known as the halving, generating endless predictions of bursting bubbles from no coiner skeptics. The next halving is coming April 17, 2020, when the block rewards will decrease from 6.25 Bitcoin to 3.25 Bitcoin. So that's what it is.
Yeah, the reward that you get for it gets reduced.
Yeah.
Right?
But the reason it's reduced, but let's rewind a moment and take a quick trip to memory lane using the...
Bitcoin halving is considered good for Bitcoin for several reasons. Scarcity and value. The halving reduces the rate at which new Bitcoins are created, making the asset more scarce. According to the principles of supply and demand, if demand remains constant or increases while supply decreases, the halving reduces the rate at which new Bitcoins are created. So basically, it makes it harder to produce.
Let me just read this. Bitcoin halving is the process that occurs every 4 years where the rewards for Bitcoin mining is cut in half. The policy was written into Bitcoin's mining algorithm to counteract inflation by maintaining scarcity. That's the reason it maintains scarcity. Yeah. The reduction in the pace of Bitcoin issuance means that the price will increase if demand remains the same. Bitcoin halving ensures that the amount of Bitcoin in circulation does not increase exponentially, which tends to put upward pressure on prices. The halving event cuts the rate at which coins are created, often boosting their price, and it's intended to maintain Bitcoin's incentive mechanism for miners and control coins' rate of inflation. You might want to just read that, dude.
I have it right here.
All right.
All right.
Everybody go back to your places.
Go back to
lights, action.
Yep. All right. So part of one of the main reasons behind my bullish case is we're coming up to the Bitcoin halving, which I believe is April 17th of this year. Every 4 years, the reward that you get to mine a Bitcoin gets cut in half. The reason why this is important is because, number one, scarcity and value. The halving reduces the rate at which new Bitcoins are created, making the asset more scarce. And according to supply and demand, if demand remains constant or increases while supply decreases, the value should increase. Number two main reason, which is inflation rate. The halving event also reduces the rate of Bitcoin's inflation. Over time, as the rewards for mining Bitcoin are halved, there are fewer new Bitcoiners entering the circulation. Number three, long-term viability. The halving events are part of Satoshi Nakamoto's original design for Bitcoin's economic model. By gradually reducing the mining reward, the halving ensures that Bitcoins will produce at a decreasing rate over a long period extending until about the year 2140. That's another thing. Most of Bitcoin that exists out of the 21 million supply already exist. There's a lot less Bitcoin to create than have already been created. In fact, if we keep going at the rate that we're at right now, the last Bitcoin will not be created. The last of the 21 million Bitcoin will not be created until the year 2140. So we have over 100 years of keeping up where we're at right now before Bitcoin, the last created Bitcoin, comes to an end. So why is that important? Or how does that happen? Because the more Bitcoin that gets created, the harder it becomes to create more Bitcoin. That's why 15 years ago, you could use your laptop and you could overnight create 50, 100, 150 Bitcoin. Now, 15 years later, the work needed to create a new Bitcoin, you literally need warehouses full of computers to be able to create a new Bitcoin. So in the code of Bitcoin, it's designed that as new Bitcoin get created, the future Bitcoin that get created after that the algorithm becomes even harder to solve. And I completely messed that up, but we can edit that out. So the long and short of it is there's 19.4 million Bitcoin that are created right now out of a total of 21 million supply. To create that last 1.6 million Bitcoin will not be until the year 2140, which means it's going to take over 100 years yet before the last Bitcoin is created.
Okay. So I guess I'm going to do the bear case.
Arr.
Okay. Bearish case. Ready? Concerns over the entire crypto market, particularly due to issues with Tether and lack of transparency. The Bitcoin's future. Skeptical of Bitcoin's future success compared to other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum due to systematic risk, market dynamic. The crypto market stability is threatened by the ancillary market. Tether's transparency issues potentially impact Bitcoin negatively. Regulatory concerns. Highlights significant fines and warnings from regulatory bodies like New York Attorney General and J.P. Morgan Chase, stressing the need for transparency and audits the crypto market. Economic indicators. Concerns inflation, central banks' policies as crucial factors. Believes higher inflation could benefit for Bitcoin, but remains cautious due to overreacting market concerns. Overarching market concerns. Well, that's interesting, but I don't know if I am in agreement with a lot of this stuff. All I could say is this, guys. All right, now this is my 2 cents, or my 2 Satoshi. Better said, my 2 Satoshi is this. I don't think Bitcoin's going anywhere. It's a great means of exchange. People understand it. And as it gets more adoption, it's going to increase in value.
So in the early 1950s, Edward Lansdale, who just happens to be one of the co-founders of the CIA, came up with a program in the Philippines where communism was starting to rise. And his way to combat the communism that was rising in the Philippines was to come up and create a whole story and myth about an urban legend for a creature that existed in the Philippines that was local folklore that all the villages told each other. It had been in their storytelling for generations. And so this creature was the equivalent of what we consider basically a vampire. So with the help of his cohorts who became the CIA, they started spreading rumors and setting up fake scenes to basically make everybody think that there were these vampires that were starting to attack people and kill people. So the more that Lansdale's strategy involved exploiting local folklore, particularly the myth of the Oswag, a local creature. The operation staged fake vampire attacks, capturing a rebel, draining their body of blood, and leaving it with puncture marks to simulate an attack. This tactic leveraged the local population's fear and causing panic among the tribe and leading them to abandon their positions. So the CIA created an entire fake vampire scenario to help kill communism.
Okay. I don't think I'll comment on that one. All right. Do we have anything else we want to talk about here in this podcast?
No, man. Go Team Bitcoin. I mean, that is it's crazy right now, isn't it? What it's doing. I mean, that's Bitcoin, isn't it, man? You sit there and it reaches its height 2 years ago. And then it's literally 2 years of a slow drip all the way down to the bottom. And, you know, when it goes from 65,000 back down to 17,000, it doesn't do it overnight. It takes a good year and a half of constantly slowly grinding you down. And so basically it does nothing.
Crying yourself to sleep every night.
Right? So Bitcoin does nothing for 2 years like it always does. And then in a 3 or 4, maybe 6 month period, it goes like this for 2 years. And then in a 3 month period, it goes like this. And it's absolutely crazy because you sit there every day for 2 years and you cry about it. And then out of nowhere, well, not out of nowhere, but then in a 5 or 6 month range, it just unreal, man. That's when money's made. And that's when a lot of money's being made right now.
Well, thank you for coming on to Urban Legend Crypto. My guest and co-host, Mr. the one and only Bret Jennings, Pedro Rachet, over now.
Bitcoin.